Emma had always considered Saturdays her time. She woke early, the sun spilling softly across the apartment walls. And she liked to take her time with small chores, making the ordinary feel comforting. Folding laundry was her ritual. It wasn't exciting, but it allowed her mind to wander, to untangle the knots of thoughts she often ignored during the busy week. Towels smelled faintly of lavender, shirts were neatly stacked, and socks were paired perfectly. She hummed a tune she barely remembered, learning a melody that somehow made the routine feel lighter. The apartment was quiet except for the soft rustle of clothing and the hum of the washing machine in the background. Everything seemed ordinary, mundane, predictable. And that predictability gave her comfort. She was in the middle of folding a faded blue sweater when a sudden chime startled her. The doorbell rang, loud and unexpected. Emma paused, unsure if she should ignore it. Saturdays were for solitude, for herself, and visitors were unusual. Yet curiosity outweighed caution. She walked across the wooden floor, feeling the warmth of the sunlight on her bare feet, and opened the door. Standing there was a man she hadn't seen in years, and the sight of him made her heart skip unexpectedly. His presence was familiar, yet strange. Lucas, her first love. The man who had once held her hand so gently in the rain that she swore the world had stopped for them both. The same man whose smile had made her feel brave and reckless all at once. He looked older now, more refined, but his eyes, the same soft brown, still carried a mix of humor, warmth, and something she couldn't place immediately. He held something in his hands, small and carefully wrapped. Emma tilted her head slightly, unsure if she should speak first or wait. The air felt heavier, charged, almost as if the universe had paused to observe this reunion. Lucas smiled awkwardly, shifting from one foot to the other. "Hi, Emma," he said. His voice was calm, steady, but there was an undercurrent of something: nervousness, maybe hope. "I know this is sudden, and you might be surprised to see me, but I found something, and I thought you should have it." Emma's curiosity sharpened, her heart thumping. She realized she hadn't even greeted him properly. "Lucas, what is this?" she asked, her voice catching slightly, betraying a mix of surprise and caution. He held out the package. When she unwrapped it, her fingers trembling, she saw a scarf. Not just any scarf. It's a soft woolen scarf she had lost years ago during a winter trip they had taken together. Scarf he had given her one evening as they walked through streets glittering with holiday lights. It was faded now, slightly frayed, but it smelled faintly of him, of winter evenings and shared laughter. Memories flooded her mind. She remembered their walks in the drizzle, the way he had held her close when the wind was cold, the warmth that had always radiated from him like a protective shield. She swallowed hard, trying to contain the sudden rush of emotion. Lucas stepped inside, brushing past her hesitation as if he belonged there. And for a moment, the apartment felt smaller. The space seemed to shrink, and she could feel the closeness, the electricity that had never really disappeared. Neither spoke at first. Emma folded the scarf delicately, almost as if touching it might somehow release the years that had passed. The silence was thick but not uncomfortable. It was charged, meaningful. I didn't know where else to find you," Lucas admitted, his tone soft, almost shy. He walked to the living room, setting the package on the table. The gesture was simple, but it carried weight. She watched him, noticing subtle changes in his posture, the way his hands moved, the quiet way he glanced at her as if trying to measure the moment before making any sudden move. Emma felt a strange mixture of nostalgia and anticipation. "Why now?" she finally asked, almost whispering, unsure if she wanted the answer. Her mind raced with questions. Hadn't he stayed in touch? Why did he show up now, after all? These years. And more importantly, what did he want? Lucas sat down across from her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "I've thought about this for a long time," he said. "I moved away. Life happened, but I never really forgot you. And then, recently, I came across this." He gestured toward the scarf. "I couldn't keep it to myself, I had to return it to you." Emma felt her throat tighten. The scarf was more than wool, it was a symbol of the past, a bridge connecting the present to memories she had tried to file neatly in her mind. Seeing him here, hearing his voice, feeling the intensity of his gaze, it was all too much to process. At once, she swallowed, nodding slowly, unsure if she should speak or stay silent. The room smelled faintly of lavender from the laundry and sunlight from the windows. But the atmosphere between them felt charged with emotion. Emma tried to focus on folding another shirt, anything to divert her mind from the pounding of her heart. But it was impossible. Every glance at Lucas reminded her of moments she had cherished, moments she thought were gone forever. Lucas leaned back slightly, watching her fold the clothes. "You haven't changed much," he said softly. There was no judgment, no teasing, just a gentle observation, an acknowledgement of who she was. Emma looked up, meeting his gaze. "And you have," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. His eyes softened, and for a moment neither spoke. It was as if time itself had slowed down, letting them exist in this suspended bubble where past and present collided. She moved to place folded shirts neatly on the couch and realized her hands were shaking slightly. It's the ordinary act of folding. Laundry had suddenly become surreal. The mundane routine was now a stage for an emotional reunion she had never anticipated. She felt a rush of questions, fears, and longing swirl inside her. Lucas's presence was a paradox, comforting yet unsettling. He was familiar, yet there was a distance shaped by years apart, experiences lived and choices made. Emma tried to recall why they had parted ways in the first place, but the memory seemed muted, overshadowed by the intensity of seeing him now. "I never thought I'd see you again," she said finally, her voice soft but steady. Lucas nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "I know," he replied. "I didn't plan to. Really? Life. It's complicated. Things find their way back when they're meant to." The scarf rested on the table, like a silent witness to their conversation, bridging the gap between past and present. Emma touched it again, feeling the soft wool, and memories rushed back her laughter. His laughter, the way their hands fit perfectly together. The warmth of evenings spent talking about dreams that seemed so close then and now felt distant. Lucas watched her, noticing the subtle changes in her expressions, the way her eyes widened when recalling something, the way her lips curved slightly when a memory surfaced. It was both familiar and foreign, seeing her after so long. And Emma realized the same. There was a part of her that had never truly let go. A part that had quietly waited for this moment without realizing it. The sun shifted in the sky, casting long shadows across the apartment floor. Dust particles floated lazily in the light, unnoticed, as Emma folded the last towel. The ordinary act of folding laundry had become extraordinary. A quiet Saturday afternoon, once predictable and calm, had transformed into a day that would linger in her memory forever. Lucas reached out almost unconsciously, as if to brush a strand of hair from her face. Emma's heart leaped, yet she stayed still, caught between curiosity and caution. The moment was fragile, delicate, charged with unspoken words. Neither wanted to disrupt it, but both felt the magnetic pull of emotions that had never fully disappeared. "I can stay for a while, if that's okay," Lucas said quietly. His words were simple, but the implication was weighty. Emma hesitated. Part of her wanted to retreat into safety, to return to the predictable solitude of laundry and silence. Another part, the part that had missed him more than she realized, wanted to let him in, even just for a little while. Emma nodded, a soft smile forming on her lips. "Yes, stay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It was enough. It's what single word opened the door, not just for him to step inside physically, but for memories, emotions, possibilities to enter her heart once more. They sat on opposite sides of the living room, the scarf between them, both hesitant and cautious. The silence stretched, But it was different, now comfortable, charged, alive. Emma realized that ordinary days could hold extraordinary moments, that the mundane could be transformed by the sudden appearance of someone who once meant everything. The afternoon continued, the sunlight fading slowly into a warm golden hue. Emma found herself stealing glances at Lucas, noting the slight crease in his forehead, the familiar curve of his smile, the gentleness in his eyes. She remembered how easily he had read her emotions, how effortlessly he had understood her fears and joys. And now, seeing him here, she felt the old stirrings return, a mixture of longing, nostalgia, and hope. Lucas shifted slightly, leaning back, watching her fold another shirt. "You always did things so carefully," he remarked softly. Emma laughed lightly, a sound that surprised even her. "I suppose I always liked order," she said. He nodded, a quiet acknowledgement, and then the air between them grew heavier, filled with all the words left unsaid over the years. Emma knew, deep down, that this day would not remain ordinary. A simple task, folding laundry, had become the backdrop for a reunion that neither of them had planned, yet both had unconsciously waited for. The sunlight was fading, leaving soft shadows across the apartment, but Emma barely noticed. She sat on the couch, folding the last of the laundry, her mind racing with memories of Lucas. He was still there, leaning casually against the table, watching her with a mixture of curiosity and something she hadn't felt in a long time. It was as if he were trying to measure her, to see if she had changed, if the spark that had once existed between them was still alive. "You've grown," Lucas said suddenly, breaking the quiet. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that made her pause. Emma looked up, meeting his gaze. There was no teasing, no judgment, just an observation that made her heart ache in a way she didn't expect. "I guess life does that," she replied lightly, though her voice wavered. She wasn't sure if she meant it as a joke or as an admission. Life had changed her, shaped her, made her cautious. Yet seeing him here brought back the part of her that had once been reckless, carefree, and wildly in love. Lucas moved closer, sitting on the edge of the couch. He didn't reach for her, not yet, but his presence was magnetic. Emma could feel it in the way her chest tightened, in the way her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the towel she had been folding. Memories surged forward, late-night walks, shared secrets, laughter that had felt like music only they could hear. She remembered the way his hand had always fit perfectly in hers, the warmth of his voice when he whispered encouragement, the little things that made life feel brighter when he was around. "I thought about you a lot over the years," Lucas admitted, his eyes fixed on hers. "Even when I moved away, even when life got busy. I never really forgot." Emma's breath caught. She wanted to speak, to tell him she had felt the same, that not a day had passed without a thought of him. But words didn't come easily. Instead, she nodded, a small, deliberate motion that conveyed more than she could say. The scarf rested between them, a bridge of memories, a symbol of what once was, and perhaps what could be again. The apartment felt alive in a way it hadn't for years. Every corner seemed charged with emotion, every shadow a reminder of the moments they had shared. Emma realized that the ordinary act of folding laundry had become extraordinary, a backdrop to a reunion she hadn't dared to imagine. Lucas shifted slightly, leaning back, but his eyes never left her. "Do you ever think about the past?" he asked softly, almost hesitantly. Emma's fingers tightened around the edge of the couch cushion. "Sometimes," she admitted. "I think about the things we said, the things we didn't say, the choices we made." He nodded, a slow, deliberate motion. "I think about that too," he said. "And I wonder if we had stayed, if things would have been different." His voice was low, intimate, carrying the weight of years of longing and regret. Emma felt a flutter in her chest, a mixture of excitement and fear. She had imagined this moment countless times, what it would feel like to see him again, to hear him speak, to feel the old connection spark once more, but reality was different. It was sharper, more intense, more overwhelming. They sat in silence. For a few moments, the kind of silence that isn't empty but full of thoughts. Full of memories, full of emotions, too strong for words. Emma watched him, noticing the subtle changes in his expression, the way his eyebrows furrowed slightly when he was deep in thought, the way his lips curved into a soft, almost imperceptible smile when he remembered something fondly. "Emma," Lucas said finally, breaking the silence, "I've regretted leaving. I thought it was the right choice at the time, but I wasn't ready to let go of us." Her heart ached at his words. She had never stopped thinking about him, never truly let go, even when life had forced them apart. The longing she had buried under years of routine and responsibility resurfaced with full force. She wanted to reach out to close the distance, but fear held her back. Fear of disappointment, fear of heartbreak, fear of opening a door that might never close. "I've thought about you too," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "More than I should have." Lucas's eyes softened, and he leaned forward slightly, just enough that she felt the warmth radiating from him. "Then, maybe we were never really apart," he said gently. His words lingered in the air, wrapping around her like a soft embrace. Emma felt her heart pounding, her mind spinning with the realization that this was real. He was here, sitting across from her, speaking words she had dreamed of hearing for years. And yet the room was still, holding its breath, as if waiting to see what would happen next. They began talking about everything and nothing. Lucas shared snippets of his life work, travels, fleeting friendships, small victories, and disappointments. Emma listened, fascinated and nostalgic, finding herself laughing at moments she had once known so well. And then she shared her own life, her routines, her small joys, the quiet victories and subtle sorrows that had shaped her. With each story, each word, the distance of years seemed to shrink, placed by a connection that was both familiar and new. There were moments when their hands brushed accidentally, sending jolts of electricity through both of them. Small touches, fleeting yet loaded with meaning, reminded them of intimacy that didn't need to be spoken aloud. Emma remembered the way his hands had once held hers, the gentle strength in his touch, and felt that same warmth now, magnified by years of longing and the unexpected joy of reunion. Lucas noticed the subtle changes in her expressions, the way her eyes lit up when recalling happy memories, the soft sigh when talking about challenges, the small smile that tugged at the corners of her lips when she remembered shared laughter. Each detail, each nuance reminded him of why he had fallen in love with her in the first place, and why that love had never truly faded. "I've missed this," Lucas said quietly, almost to himself. "I've missed you." Emma's chest tightened, her heart racing. "I've missed you too," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. She wanted to reach out, to close the gap between them, to feel the warmth of his presence in a way words couldn't convey. But there was hesitation, a delicate line between longing and caution that neither wanted to cross too quickly. The sunlight faded further, leaving the room bathed in golden evening light. Shadows stretched across the floor, softening the edges of reality, making everything feel like a dream. Emma felt a mixture of fear and anticipation, wondering what this reunion would mean. Could they truly pick up where they left off? Could the past and present coexist without shattering the fragile connection they were rebuilding? Lucas shifted closer, though not too close, careful not to overwhelm her. "I don't know what comes next," he admitted, "but I know I don't want to lose this moment, or you, again." Emma felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. She didn't want to lose him either. Not now, not ever. And yet uncertainty loomed, reminding her that love after years of separation was never simple. It required trust, courage, and a willingness to confront the past while embracing the present. They continued to talk long into the evening. Each story, each memory, weaving a tapestry of connection that felt both fragile and unbreakable. They laughed softly, reminiscing about shared moments, and grew quiet. lost in thought as they considered the unspoken words between them. Every glance, every gesture carried meaning, every pause a silent conversation at one point. Lucas reached for the scarf again, smoothing it gently. "This brought me back to you," he said softly. "It reminded me of everything I felt, everything I couldn't say before." Emma touched it lightly, feeling the texture beneath her fingers, and a wave of emotion washed over her. "Beautiful," she whispered. "And it brings back a lot of memories." The room was quiet again, but this time the silence was comforting, filled with possibility. The past had returned not as a shadow, but as a presence, a reminder that love, even when paused by time and distance, could find its way back. As night approached, Lucas stood, moving toward the window. The city lights twinkled outside, mirroring, the soft stars beginning to appear above. Emma watched him, feeling a strange mix of longing and anticipation. This was a turning point in evening that had started like any other. Folding laundry had transformed into a delicate dance of emotions. A quiet reunion that neither could ignore. "I should probably go soon," Lucas said, though neither of them moved, "but I wanted to see you. Really see you. I'm glad I did." Emma's heart ached, wishing the night would never end. "I'm glad you came," she said softly. "More than you know." He looked at her, eyes lingering, a silent conversation passing between them. And though the evening was ending, something had shifted. The ordinary day, filled with chores and routine, had become the start of something extraordinary. Emma realized that moments like these, unplanned and unexpected, held more weight than carefully planned days. They were honest, raw, and unforgettable as Lucas left. The scarf still in her hands, Emma felt a mixture of hope and uncertainty. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. The connection they had never truly lost had returned. Fragile yet undeniable. And in that return, she found herself holding on to a feeling she had thought lost forever, a sense of possibility. Of love renewed, of hearts intertwined across the distance of years. Even as the door closed behind him, the warmth of his presence lingered in the room, a reminder that life could surprise her in the quietest of moments. The evening had settled in fully, wrapping Emma's apartment in a soft, golden glow from the city lights outside. The room felt alive with memories and emotions that had returned unexpectedly, brought back by Lucas's sudden appearance earlier in the day. She sat quietly on the couch, the scarf he had returned resting gently in her lap, feeling a mixture of excitement, fear, and longing. She didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in years, her heart felt awake, alert, and, strangely, full. Lucas stood by the window, his silhouette framed by the soft glow of the city. He looked at her with a careful intensity, as if he were measuring every moment, every word, and every possible reaction. The tension between them was palpable, yet comfortable in a way that only years of familiarity could create. Emma watched him, noticing the subtle ways he moved, how his hand brushed the windowsill, how his eyes softened when he smiled, how even the smallest gestures carried meaning. She realized that this was more than nostalgia. This was a chance. Perhaps their chance to reconnect in a way they had never managed before, you know? Lucas began softly, his voice carrying across the room. "I never stopped wondering about us, about what we had, about what we lost." He paused, swallowing as if the words themselves were heavy with the weight of years. "I think about the little moments. How your laugh sounded when you were happy, how you'd bite your lip when you were nervous, how I used to just love being near you." Emma's heart swelled at his words. She had remembered those things too, every single one, tucked away in the corners of her memory like fragile treasures. She wanted to tell him that, to let him know that she had felt the same longing, the same quiet ache whenever she thought about him. Yet the words caught in her throat, heavy with vulnerability and hope. Instead, she reached out and touched the scarf gently, letting her fingers linger on the familiar fabric. a quiet bridge between the past and present. Lucas moved closer, carefully, keeping a respectful distance but closing enough that Emma could feel the warmth emanating from him. There was no rush, no forcefulness, just a gentle magnetic pull. The kind that reminded her why she had fallen in love with him in the first place. She could see it in his eyes, the depth of emotion, the honesty, the longing that mirrored her own. "I don't want to rush this," Lucas said quietly, his voice low and intimate. "I don't know if we can pick up exactly where we left off, but I know I don't want to walk away again without trying." Emma nodded, her chest tightening with a mix of fear and anticipation. She wanted to tell him everything, to pour out the years of feelings she had bottled up. But she knew this moment was about more than words. It was about presence, about connection, about the slow rebuilding of trust and familiarity. They talked for hours, moving seamlessly between past memories and present reflections. Lucas shared moments from his life's small victories, personal struggles, fleeting romances that never quite compared to what he had shared with her. Emma listened, fascinated, an emotional feeling both sadness for what they had lost and excitement for what might be possible. When it was her turn, she spoke about her own life, the quiet routines, the small achievements, the subtle disappointments that had shaped her. Each word, each story wove a tapestry of shared humanity, reminding them that despite years apart, they still understood each other in a way no one else could. At one point, Lucas reached for the scarf, brushing his fingers lightly over it. "I kept it," he said softly, "even after all this time. It reminded me of you, of us, and of everything I never said." Emma's fingers trembled slightly as she touched it again. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "and it brings back a lot of memories." The warmth in her voice reflected the flood of emotions she felt: nostalgia, longing, hope, and a cautious excitement for what the future might hold. The conversation ebbed and flowed, moments of laughter blending with moments of silence, each pause heavy with meaning. Their eyes met often, communicating more than words could, a quiet understanding that they were no longer just two people meeting after years. They were two hearts reconnecting, rediscovering a bond that had never truly broken. As the night deepened, Lucas moved closer still, his presence enveloping her without pressure. Emma could feel the heat of his body, the subtle strength in his posture, the way his eyes held hers with unwavering attention. She realized that the years apart had not diminished the connection between them. If anything, it had made it more poignant, more precious, more urgent. "I've wanted to tell you for so long," Lucas admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've wanted to tell you that I missed you, that I loved you, even when I thought I had to let go. And seeing you now, I can't imagine letting you go again." Emma's heart raced. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming intensity of emotion. She wanted to reach for him, to close the distance, to let the years of longing and missed opportunities finally dissolve into the present. But she hesitated, aware of the delicate balance between hope and caution. "I missed you too," she finally said, her voice trembling. "More than I realized." A soft smile spread across Lucas's face, a mixture of relief, joy, and quiet awe. He moved closer still, careful, deliberate, allowing their hands to brush. That small touch sent a ripple through both of them, a reminder of intimacy, trust, and the unspoken bond that had never faded. Emma felt herself leaning slightly toward him, drawn by the gravity of emotion that neither could deny. The city lights outside cast a warm glow, bathing the room in a soft, intimate ambience. Shadows danced across the walls, mirroring the dance of emotions between them: longing, hope, fear, and the tentative joy of reunion. Every gesture, every glance was magnified by the years of absence, the distance traveled, and the unspoken promises that lingered in the air. "I don't know what comes next," Lucas admitted, his voice low, vulnerable, "but I want to try. I want us to see if we can be us again." Emma's chest tightened, her heart pounding with anticipation. She wanted the same thing more than anything, yet the fear of repeating past mistakes lingered at the edges of her mind. She took a deep breath, letting the warmth of the room and the presence of Lucas steady her. "I want that too," she said softly. They continued to talk, the night stretching around them like a gentle cocoon. Stories flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter, quiet sighs, and the occasional silence filled with meaning. Each word, each shared memory brought them closer together, dissolving the distance that had once separated them at one point. Lucas brushed a strand of hair from Emma's face, a small gesture loaded with tenderness. She felt a shiver run down her spine, a reminder of the connection that had always existed, the chemistry that neither time nor distance could erase. Their eyes met, holding each other in a silent understanding that this moment was fragile, precious, and unlike anything they had experienced in years. "I never stopped caring," Lucas whispered, his voice barely audible. "Even when I tried to move on, even when life took me elsewhere. A part of me stayed with you." Emma's hands trembled slightly as she reached for his. "Neither did I," she replied, her voice soft but steady. "I never truly let go." The moment stretched, delicate and electric, as if time itself had slowed to let them exist in this bubble of emotion. They didn't need words for everything. Their eyes, their touches, their shared breath spoke volumes. The years of separation, the pain of missed opportunities, and the longing they had carried silently were all condensed into this one perfect moment. Outside, the city moved on unaware, but inside, Emma and Lucas existed in a timeless space, a fragile reality where the past and present intertwined. The scarf resting between them symbolized more than memory. It was a token of enduring connection, a bridge between what had been and what could be. As the night deepened, Lucas stood, moving toward the door, though neither wanted to break the spell of the evening. "I should go for now," he said quietly. "But I don't want this to end." "Not really." Emma nodded, feeling the ache of parting already. "I don't want it to end either," she whispered. He paused at the threshold, turning back to look at her. Their eyes met, full of unspoken promises, hope, and the delicate vulnerability of two hearts reconnecting. "We'll figure this out," he said softly. "Together." And with that, he left, stepping into the night, leaving Emma with the scarf in her hands, the warmth of his presence lingering in the room, and the unmistakable feeling that everything had changed. She sank back onto the couch, emotions swirling, in a beautiful, chaotic mixture of hope, excitement, and the tender ache of love renewed. The day that had begun as ordinary a routine of folding laundry had transformed into a pivotal moment of her life, a turning point she would never forget. Emma realized that love, even after years of absence, could find its way back, quiet, yet profound, subtle, yet unstoppable. She held the scarf close, inhaling its faint scent, and smiled softly, tears threatening to spill but held in check by a deep, satisfying joy. This wasn't just a memory. It was the start of a new chapter, one that promised connection, understanding, and the fragile, beautiful chance at love once more. And in the quiet of the night, Emma understood something she had never fully realized. Before life's ordinary moments folding laundry, answering a simple knock on the door could carry extraordinary consequences.